I just turned my kitchen into the famous Brazilian steakhouse, Fogo de Chao. And over the next 4 days, I created an entire course of grilled meats, sides, and desserts for 40 people. Every year for Friendsmas, I like to create a themed dinner for all of my friends, and this year I decided Brazilian Steakhouse. I had to recruit the help of one of my friends. She and I spent the last 4 days of grocery shopping, prepping, cooking, and serving this entire feast. So we started at my local Fry's, and there we bought all of the specialty items. Something about Brazilian cuisine that I really like is the utilization of fresh herbs. The highlight of this meal was definitely going to be the chimichurri that was going on a lot of the protein and the garlic herb butter. So I have a budget for all of my groceries. I guessed that it would be sub $200, and so did Taylor, and actually we were really close. We're about $180, so not bad. Once that was all put away, it was time for us to go to the main grocery store. I'm talking about Costco. Before we even began our runs, we had to get a nice slice of pizza. I'm like a kid in a candy store when I go to Costco. It is basically my go-to for two main items, protein and booze. Can you guess how much I spent at Costco alone? Comment your guess below and I will reveal how much at the end of this segment. So this was the first year we were actually having a bartender, so it was really important that I had as much alcohol there as possible. Now, I do have two specialty drinks on the menu, a classic Christmas margarita and a spiced pear martini, but also wanted to have some regular items as well that you'd find at your normal bar, like wine, beer, seltzers, all of the mix-ins, and all of the hard alcohol. Once we had all of our alcohol in the cart, it was time for my favorite part, picking out the protein. I ended up having 7 different types of protein. I had tenderloin, ribeye, tomahawk steak, bacon wrapped chicken, flame grilled shrimp, mango salmon chutney, and of course pork sausage. So as we were checking out, the total came to over $1,200. So if you guessed correctly, congratulations, you are a shopping pro. So we packed up the car and we headed home, and that's where we organized everything, and I got to just kind of figure out what we needed to do for the next 3 days of cooking. So for day 2, it's actually the lightest day when it comes to cooking because it's all of our prepping. So it's prep day and my refrigerator drawer was stuck, and I was like, why is this not coming out? Because this is valuable space. So after literally pulling with all my force, it was frozen. So that's a problem we're gonna have to fix. I was chiseling away at this morning. We like to pre-cut all of our vegetables, pre-wash everything that needs to. This is primarily produce focused, so we just wanna make sure that everything is clean and ready to go. No need to waste time dicing an onion every time you need to use it. That way we'll just put it all in airtight containers and store it in the fridge, and as we need to use it, we can. Now for the specialty margarita, you have to have fresh lime juice. And I don't know about your friends, but my friends are big tequila fans. So we needed to have a lot of lime juice. So Taylor and I had to juice over 140 limes, and I tell you, this was an arm workout, but the result is so worth it. So that was really tiring, but once we got through that was the hardest part of the day. Something that we're able to prep was all of this delicious garlic herb butter. All those delicious fresh herbs that you saw that we washed, I cut really small and minced them into this butter with fresh garlic and lots of salt. It's really simple, but I tell you, it goes so well on everything, and potatoes, on the protein. It's gonna give all of the steak, the fish, the chicken a huge burst of flavor. So for one of our appetizers, we had 2 fillings. We had a beef and a mushroom for vegetarian-friendly options. And we were making this Brazilian appetizer called a pastel, which is, think of it like a Brazilian empanada. Delicious, seasoned inside with a crispy, flaky dough. Taylor and I made the filling pretty much identical, except one of them had beef and the other one just had mushroom. It had really nice spices of cardamom, which I have never used before. So day 2 was pretty easy. We just wanted to prep a few things beforehand. Once we got the fillings done and the garlic herb, it was time to hit the hay, because Friday and Saturday are the biggest days for cooking. Now there was so much to do Friday because Saturday was our live cooking day. Now that was the day before, we needed to work on all of our protein. So this included marinating all of our steaks, getting them all ready, as well as wrapping all of our chicken, doing the shrimp, the salmon, and the sausage. Now to do all the steaks, I decided to get the best cook on them. We needed to sous vide them. I had this massive ribeye, as you all saw, that I needed to cut into about 2-inch segments. And then I had a vacuum sealer, and I thought this would be perfect to get all of that infused flavor overnight by putting the garlic butter, the herbs, fresh garlic, salt and pepper, and rosemary into the bags, seal it all together, and then have that sous vide the next day. Now the fun specialty meat for this evening was a tomahawk. This was almost a 3-pound steak in and of itself with that massive bone on the end. We decided to cook it pretty much the same way. We vacuum sealed it, got all of that flavor infused to it, and let that sit overnight. Taylor and and I had a lot on our plates, so we did delegate one dish to the boys, and that was the pork sausage. You know what? I think they did a pretty good job. So we used a pork butt and then we added some bacon fat in it to get it a nice fatty texture. Of course, I had a lot of fun spices in it, some parsley, and then we got to grind it through our own meat grinder. This is the most fun part. I think the guys had a little too much fun with this, but it's really great to be able to make and grind your own meat and make that into a sausage. I feel like the flavors are different, it doesn't taste processed, and it has this really rich freshness to it. For the shrimp, I decided to do a really simple garlic fresh herb marinade, and then I just let that sit in the fridge overnight. That one was going to be the last protein that we actually cooked because shrimp takes a really quick time. So something we also did on that day was bake all of the desserts. Now we had two different signature desserts, one that was a peppermint cheesecake and the other one was a limoncello cookie. The limoncello cookies were full of fresh lemon zest, and you could really taste that citrus note. Now to make the cookies, we just did a really simple sugar cookie batter with fresh lemon and limoncello. And then we had a fresh limoncello frosting with lemon zest. These were to die for. Seriously, they were so tender. And when I said that there were no more cookies left, that was the case. I also had a mini peppermint cheesecake. I also thought sometimes minty after a huge dinner is kind of refreshing, and it was absolutely delicious, and we had a little chocolate drizzle on top. There's not a single bite left. Everyone ate one, and they're really fun to make. So we did all of the desserts, put those in the fridge, and then we got to all of our mashed potatoes. When I tell you the mashed potatoes were probably one of the hardest things to make, I'm not even kidding. You'd think a simple mashed potato would be really easy to make. So we have two methods to make our mashed potatoes nice and fluffy. We went the extra mile. So first we got our potato ricer and we riced each one. That way it makes it even more fine. But to make them even more gourmet, I have learned that putting your potatoes through a fine mesh strainer is the way to go. And I tell you, this took probably almost an hour to do 2 bags of potatoes. But when I say that these were the fluffiest, creamiest mashed potatoes in the whole world, you probably wouldn't believe me. So that was a full 14-hour day. Doing most of the sides and finishing off any baking we had to do, all of the proteins was a must because the day of on Saturday was really, really important. So while that seems like we pretty much front-loaded all the work till Saturday, the hard part was I was also setting up the actual event. I had furniture rentals, decor, and all of the setup pretty much had to be done before the party. But don't worry, I wasn't alone. I had some amazing help, and my mom was so cute, and she came over and decorated the entire table for me. I absolutely loved the rentals, and like I said, we had a 40-person event. We needed a really large space for that. So my theme this year was black and gold. I wanted it to be nice and classy. We had little pops of blue, some gold, silver. This holiday spirit was just really rich and elegant and elevated, and I had a really fun time picking out all the decorations. To help out with the event the day of, I actually had a bartender and 2 servers. It was really imperative I had extra hands at this event because I was going to be so busy in the kitchen. So while they were setting up and getting the bar ready, Taylor and I were back in the kitchen making sure everything needed to be done and was ready for cooking. Now for the main sauce, we were making this beautiful chimichurri. I did the really dumb thing of when I was having all the herbs in the food processor, I overfilled it.
My first failure of the day. I was trying to make my chimichurri and I broke the lid.
The knife went spinning and actually got my finger. It's okay, I'm good. But I got plastic into the chimichurri. So we had to go rebuy all of our ingredients for the chimichurri. For vegetable side, I had some oven roasted green beans, but as we were cooking them, I might have set them on fire. For a secondary appetizer, I had just mini toasted crostinis with this really delicious garlic herb boursin cheese. Not really Brazilian, but I just thought it sounded really good. Both of them were really popular. We didn't come back with any appetizers left. So something that Fogo de Chao serves on their menu is crispy polenta. Think of it kind of as like a cornmeal french fry. So I wanted to have that same item on the menu. So the day before, I created a cornmeal polenta and then let it sit overnight. Cut it in small little french fry shapes, and then we were gonna flash fry it right before everyone sat down so it didn't get nice and mushy. So one of the most popular Brazilian dishes that you probably have heard of is the Brazilian cheese bread, or pão de queijo. And it's just this really delicious tapioca starch based bread, and it has a delicious Parmesan cheese flavor. Now we needed to make these the day of because they puff up in the oven, but you don't want them to deflate. So now that guests were starting to arrive, I was hoping that they would eat all of the appetizers and get a couple cocktails down first, so it gave us more time in the kitchen. Luckily that was the case. I was a little bit behind schedule, but with the amount of food that we were actually cooking cooking, I didn't feel so bad about it. For all the sides, I thought it would be better to be self-serve. That way people can choose if they wanted salad, the breads, how much mashed potatoes they wanted, green beans, etc. Once the proteins were all done off the grill, we pulled them and we let them sit for a few minutes before we cut into it. I wanted to make sure all the juices were there, we didn't cut too prematurely, and they were nice and moist and tender. So we had the tomahawk, the tenderloin, the ribeye, bacon wrapped chicken, the grilled shrimp, and the salmon and the pork. Now the way that we served it was all of the protein was hand passed around with the servers and myself. I wanted to make sure that everyone got a perfect piece, so I thought hand serving that would be really fun. Then once all of our protein was served, we passed around dessert and started our white elephant. Now that one's always fun because you don't know what you're gonna get and you can steal presents from your friends, and it's just a really good time to laugh and make fun of each other. So overall, the night was a complete success. We got every single dish out and there was not a single leftover, and I had so much food. Everyone was raving about the delicious entrees, the fun decor, and the vibes of everyone. The bartender was a huge hit and maybe the most popular person at the party. I could not have done it without all of my friends and family that were helping, and I cannot wait for next year's. We had the most successful Friendsmas yet, and I literally could not have done it without Taylor, so thank you so much. I literally spent how many hours? Like a full work week stuck with me. If you want to see the other events, make sure to click the videos below. You can see each year the progress that I've made, and I'm not stopping this. This is now a tradition. Each year is only gonna get better and better. Thanks so much for watching, and if you get to this part of the video, definitely comment what you think my next year's theme is gonna be. I hope you all have an amazing year, and let's end 2023 on the highest note possible.